between the days gone by, across the sky. It knew how near were the strangers. Beware, it said, of strangers. It cried, have fear of the strangers. They will not understand your ways and your life.
We are bound to protect them. The general rule is that you cannot make the Indian a white man. All we can hope is to wean them by slow degrees from their nomadic habits, which have become almost an instinct, and by slow degrees absorb them or settle them on the land. In the meantime, they must be protected.
Sir John A. McDonald's efforts to protect, yet gradually integrate the native population into the mainstream of Canadian life were to dramatically alter the roles traditionally held by Indian men and women. These roles emphasized a shared responsibility for the continued economic and cultural growth of the Indian community, and they were severely disrupted by assimilationist policies that remained in place in Canada for well over 100 years.
I want to get rid of the Indian problem. That has been the whole purpose of Indian education and advancement since earliest times. One of the very earliest enactments was to provide for the enfranchisement of the Indian. So it is written in our law that the Indian was eventually to become enfranchised. Our object is to continue until there's not a single Indian in Canada that has not been absorbed into the body politic. And there is no Indian question and no Indian department.
Indians who followed the government policy of assimilation by enfranchising irreversibly separated themselves from their traditional means of livelihood. They gained the full rights of Canadian citizenship, but the final result was often a deep-rooted and long-lasting sense of cultural alienation.
We already moved to Smithers when my little boy died, and he died of pneumonia in hospital. And we asked if we could bring the body back and bury it in the reserve. And then my father-in-law and my uncle, he was the chief of the village. They both came to us and told us that we are enfranchised, and they didn't feel right for us to bring our dead body of the baby back to reserve and bury him there. And they said, if we want to be on White Act, you want to be on your own, you have to bury your child where you live at. And that's when the affection really affected me. Like, I feel so bad. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I didn't realize that was going to happen. A lot of memories here. Like my grandparents, everybody's buried here. And my husband's from here, and we got married, and we lived here for a while, and we moved to Houston. In the fall, the people from the reserve, they used to get box of shells from the Indian department, like Indian agents, and they get box of shells. It was only about $4.50 or something like that. But I guess my husband felt that he's entitled to it, and he's going to do some hunting, and he figured he'll get box of shells from the Indian agent. So he wrote a letter. I knew he wrote a letter to the Indian agent in Hazleton. And about 2 weeks later, he got a letter, came back, and it says, if you left reserve for 6 months, you're not entitled to anything. The only people that lives in reserve, they're entitled to things like that. So then he was upset about it, and he never been in reserve for quite a while. He'd been working on CN for about 3 years at that time. And he felt that if he's not entitled to anything in reserve, so he might as well go on franchise. Then he got on the train and he went down to Hazleton. Came back saying that all the papers was filled out and that everything was fixed up. All he's got to wait for is the card to come. And I guess he signed his name there. I wasn't with him when he did that. And but 6 months or 6 weeks, I don't know how long after, there's a little blue card in the leather that came. That's the only card he got, and that's what made him franchise. And he had that card with him. He had it in his wallet all the time wherever he goes. And me, I didn't have any. They didn't send me any. And I never signed my name to anything. It was just my husband did all the paperwork and that. So I don't know what he went through because I wasn't with him. And that's the mistake he made, and here all my family, all my kids are all enfranchised now. They can't live in reserve, and unless my daughter's married an Indian from reserve, then they'll get back in. Otherwise, no. And myself too, no. I can't live here. I wish I could, but I can't. The government won't allow me. I know that.
Presently, what is Chief's and Council position on the non-status Indian women?
Well, like in our village, we don't classify them as non-status. We just recognize them as our Indian people. It's only the Indian Act that to be non-status.
So you don't see a problem here for your reserve?
No.
Well,
it's only that we can't give them the service that we can give to our status people because of the funding that we get from the federal government.
Okay, what services are you speaking of?
Well, it's things like housing, stuff like that.
Just year by year it comes that I was finding out a little bit more what happened to me. And then I was told that when my husband went in franchise, I'm married to him, so automatically I went in franchise too. And when I was younger, if we come to reserve, the other people, they didn't say you're a franchise woman, they'll say you're a white lady. The way they talked to me, like I was stuck up or something. But I never felt that way, but that's the way they talk to me. They tell me right in my face. And it used to hurt me because I don't feel like white people, and I am an Indian, and yet they call me I'm a white lady, and it did affect me at that time.
Do you know Rose Bazil?
Yeah.
She is a non-status Indian woman and has been off the reserve for several years. What about her? Would she be able to come back and live on the reserve?
Yeah, if she's got some rights, then she's welcome to get back, but I don't think that she feels that she has any rights.
But then if you don't have a position, I mean, if there's no separation between status and non-status, why couldn't she come back?
Yeah, she's allowed to come back. Most of them, we allow them to live on reserve, like if they can live with their parents or something like that.
What would it mean for you to get your status back now?
Oh, it would be wonderful. Yeah, I'm wishing for that lots of times. I wish I was status yet and live with my people. I love my people. Gradually all the reserve people here are close relatives of mine, both ways, my father's side and my mother's side. And I love them all, and I wish I could be with them, but I can't.